Okay, now it looks like it's working.
Okay.
Let me just double check. Okay, yes, we are live. Sorry about that. Um, I know Liz and I always say like, "Yay, it's working." It's because a lot of times it really doesn't work. So and that happened to us today. But anywho, thank you, Beth, for joining us this week on Living in the Texas Hill Country. We're happy to have you back. Um, Speaking of, I know we've had you on before, but do you want to just kind of tell us who you are again and what agent, or sorry, what county you come from as an agent?
Okay. My name is Beth McMahon. I am the Gillespie County Horticulture Extension Agent. Gillespie County is here in the Texas Hill Country. It's got Fredericksburg as its county seat, and I work with a lot of different plants. I don't have to work with animals that much unless they're the animals that are messing up your yard or your trees. I am a plant person.
That sounds really fun, and it's such a good time of year to be a horticulture agent. I would assume this time of year kind of get a little bit more busy for you.
April's usually fairly busy, yes.
Yeah, especially with everything greening up. I'm sure you're getting lots of questions. And speaking of, what kind of questions do you get in the office typically?
I get all kinds. But today I've been asked a tomato question. I was working on a turf program, and so now I just need a tree question to complete the extension agent triad: trees, turf, and tomatoes.
Perfect.
Hmm.
Well, hopefully not. Hopefully not many people are having problems with their trees, but I guess to kind of keep your brain rolling, I guess hopefully you get some questions soon to complete your triad there. But today I wanted to ask you a little bit about, I think probably this time of year, a lot of people are going to nurseries and buying plants. There's also lots of organizations that are having plant sales. And so, um, what are some good things to look for? How do we properly transplant those once we get them home? So I guess just to kind of start out, um, I guess we kind of mentioned natives before we hopped on. So what's the what does native plant mean to you?
Oh, that is such a loaded topic right there.
It is, yeah.
So, okay. I'm going to give you my perspective on natives. There are other perspectives on natives. Native is kind of interpretive. So, for example, I think that a plant is native if it actually grew in the spot historically one time in the past. Now, if you look at some of our other people think that native plants include anything that is grown wherever in Texas. So, for example, I'm going to throw Mexican feathergrass underneath the bus. This is a beautiful grass, has ornamental characteristics, very nice and flowy, but it is native to the smallest bit of West Texas. But apparently, since it's native to there, it's native to all of
Oh,
Texas. And it's invasive. So I don't particularly like the grass that much. And it kind of irritates me to hear it be called a native and being, oh, yay, natives, when it's not necessarily a good thing. Though it does look really great in a landscape. I will say that.
awesome.
Um,
Go ahead.
I'm also not one of those people who's all like, it has to be native or the world is going to end. Well, not the world is going to be end. It's going to be an ecological disaster. Yes. I like native plants. I love native plants. I like not having to water native plants. I like having them bloom and having not very little care and that kind of thing. Natives are great. But at the same time, I like other plants too. I'm a horticulture agent. I like plants that are well adapted to the environment. I like plants that don't need a lot of care from me to survive. That is going to be my ideal plant. Now, I don't like plants that are invasive. I don't like plants that take over everything and such. Bermuda grass, for example, that's a pretty decent turf grass, but I wouldn't plant it in my yard because it's going to get in my flower beds.
Fair.
It's just too invasive. But I don't dislike it because it's not native. I dislike it because it invades. So,
Mm.
as long as it's adapted, I don't have to do a lot to it, and it's pretty, I like it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think those are really good points to highlight there, and it kind of gets me thinking about like what are your goals too. Um, I think for landscaping, probably most people's goals are aesthetics, to, they just want their place to look pretty. And so, um, but I get, that's why we're talking about this today, is to see, it maybe look past just what's pretty. And, I like that you brought up maintenance. Maybe you don't have to water it quite as often, or maybe it doesn't need a lot of, general care. Like maybe you don't have to cut it back so often and things like that.
Well,
Um,
on the pretty note, there is something that should be said there. So now, if you look at my landscape, I'm guilty of this. So I'm not judging anybody. I do it too. Other people who are plant collectors do it as well. But there is a difference between a plant being pretty and then a plant being pretty in your landscape.
mm,
So there's different ways of designing a landscape. There's like the cottage garden style where it's more chaotic. You have just a bunch of stuff that's mess around everywhere. And then there's more formal styles like English garden where there's a lot of greenery and everything is uniform. There's a lot of repetition. So um, my landscape is more, I see a plant I like and I just want to put it in my landscape and it's pretty, but theoretically, well, my landscape would probably be prettier if it was more uniform and I had a more united landscape. So
yeah, it
pretty
sounds
is
like
one thing, pretty landscape is maybe a different thing. And gnomes are, garden gnomes are not really ever pretty. Yeah.
I can't agree or disagree because we have lots of known fans over here, so
Oh, okay.
I'm just picking. But okay, so we kind of talked a little bit about natives and maybe non-natives, or invasive as well. But whenever we get into the discussion of native and non-native, what are some of the benefits of having a native over a non-native? And I guess also like where would you start plugging and playing non-natives?
So usually your natives are going to be drought adapted. They're going to be adapted to the insects. They're going to be adapted to the local diseases. You're usually pretty good there. Now, we do have some natives that need a little bit more. Well, no, some natives need a lot more water because honestly, we have different environments around here. For example, bald cypress shouldn't be going in the middle of your yard. Should be planted along a river, a creek, or a pond. Bald cypress is native, but just because it's native doesn't mean you could stick it wherever you want. Um, Generally, though, that bald cypress is probably not going to have any insect or very few pest issues and such, but you still should not be sticking it in the middle of your yard. It's not a good spot for it.
Fair.
Unless you have a
Um,
pond in the middle of your yard,
sure.
then that's okay.
Um, what and I guess what are some of the differences in with I guess you kind of touched on it, but can you go a little bit more detail about the difference in care between a native or an adapted plant versus something that may not necessarily go here naturally?
Well, if it's adapted, you may not have to do much to it at all. It may be
Sure.
just like a native in terms of care. That's what the name means. It's adapted. Now, this being said, that doesn't mean that there aren't plants out there that you want to plant in your landscape. I would call these more pet plants. For example, I have a hydrangea and I like my hydrangea. It is pretty. It's a white flowered one and but it needs more care than my other
Sure.
plants. It is not well adapted whatsoever. I have to water it every 2 weeks in the summer, and I'm not very generous with the watering. I have to give it chelated iron. I have to fertilize it, then I have to prune it. I have to do all this much more work for this plant that is not well adapted and definitely not native to this area compared to, say, a Greg's mist flower, which the only work I have to do with that one is to keep it out of the other plants.
Sure. Okay, so since we started naming some plants, do you have some favorite plants or do you have any like tips for our listeners that maybe they're planning on going to a plant sale soon or a nursery? What are some plants that they should look for?
Well, I've got a picture slideshow of
Oh,
native
perfect.
of my favorite plants.
Perfect. Let's show it. Let's see. Will it give you permission? to share your screen.
I see share screen. Oh, you have disabled screen sharing. People don't want to see my favorite plants.
It's okay. Try it now and see if it goes.
Oh, I can share it. Okay.
Okay, perfect.
All right. So we have here first. Let me see. Can I do it there? Yes. Okay. So we have here first the daffodil. I am an elder millennial, and so I like plants that take care of themselves. And what I like about daffodils is I just plant them and I don't have to worry about them again. They grow and they come back, generally fairly every year and such. Now, this lavender daffodil right here, Eric Lear, that one does need a little bit of care because it's not as frost tolerant. But the Carlton daffodils, oh wait, that's ice follies. The Carlton daffodils and the ice follies, they just come back and they just grow. That's a well-adapted plant there, and it's drought tolerant. It's not native whatsoever, but it is hardy. And so that's one of my favorites.
Nice. I had no idea that those did well over here, and they're so pretty too, so that
They
works out
are.
good.
It's a good investment. So if you want like a little bit of color in early spring, you just put them in there and then you don't have to worry about them again, unless you accidentally take them up.
Sure. And are those, how do those grow? Are they, I mean, I guess if they're already sprouted, it doesn't matter, but are they
Oh,
a bulb or?
yes, they're a
Okay.
bulb. So they're going to pop up. You're going to plant them about December or November. They are going to just chill out in the soil. Then they will start popping up about January, February, and you should get blooms about February, March, maybe early April, depending on the year or in the variety. Now, there are some that are better adapted than others. That Carlton variety is one of them, and then the Ice Follies is another one. The Eric Lear is, this one hasn't bloomed every year for me, but gosh, it's just so dadgum pretty.
It is pretty.
Mhm. All right, next one,
Sure.
Dianthus. So dianthus includes carnations. It includes Dianthus chinensis, which are the little itty bitty cute ones that you can get in 6 packs at local nurseries and such as a bedding plant. But this plant actually is a relatively short-lived, well, sometimes it's short-lived, but it's a decent perennial. It's excellent for rock gardens. It can take some heat. It definitely takes drought, and it just looks good. Right now, all of my dianthuses are blooming, so they all look quite good. And then this little one in the bottom, this is Fire Witch, which I believe is a Texas superstar, or
Oh,
going to
okay.
be soon.
And what does that mean, Texas Superstar?
Texas superstars are plants that have been tested by Texas A&M University to be very well adapted across a variety of Texas climates. So when you see something that's labeled as a Texas superstar, it's usually going to be a pretty good choice for your landscape.
There's a list somewhere, right?
Yes, and actually, if you have any master gardeners or if you're a master gardener, you can take a advanced training just on Texas superstars.
Oh, nice.
Mhm.
And
I
then
think they should
also,
add more dianthus. What?
yes, you also mentioned rock gardens. Is that kind of what we're seeing here
Oh,
in that bottom right picture?
um, no, that's just a granite
Oh, okay.
base. Yeah, granite mulch. A rock garden is pretty much any garden in the Texas Hill Country, to be honest.
Yeah, fair.
Um, you know what? Honestly, I think other areas probably have true rock gardens where it's basically rock borders with a little bit of soil and that kind of thing.
Okay.
But here, we just have so many rocks. It's just like, rock garden? Why would you do that? Kind of thing.
Or what
It-
about landscapes that are kind of xeriscaped? Would those do well in that?
oh, if they mulched it, I would think so.
Okay.
Um, you can do xeriscaping different ways. You don't have to
Sure.
do xeriscaping with the rocks. Um, they should do okay. The problem with them, well, there's good and bad. So it's good because they stay short, so they would be towards the front of a landscape, but
Hmm.
then they only bloom once a year. So if you're looking for like interest throughout the year, they may not provide it. Though that little fire witch dianthus down there at the bottom has like this mound of green, which is kind of pleasant if you
Yeah,
just have like multiple mounds in a line.
I like that one. I like that it's like a little ball.
It's a little ball. Yeah, yeah, very tidy. Next one.
Yes.
Okay. This one is a native and it's a wildflower. So if you've got areas where you don't want to mow and you just want flowers, Indian blankets are a very good choice. They are an annual, meaning that they only live 1 year, and they have lots of color. You can get a couple of different colors are out there and such. I like collecting pictures of weird ones. So I have a lot of them, and that kind of produces some genetic mutations and that kind of thing, like that yellow one. Um, they attract pollinators. There's actually a moth called the Gaillardia moth that is specifically adapted to look like the flower petals of this plant. And it is a very pretty looking moth. I should have put a picture of it on here. Um, it's good for if you need bulk. If you need to fill a big, large space, this is a good native wildflower to choose.
Very pretty. I like it.
Yep. Next one.
Next.
All right, zinnias.
Ooh,
Zinnias are the classic flower. They take heat. They are pretty. They're a great cut flower. And you'll see that I don't have a good picture of them on here. I was trying to put some pictures, to upload some pictures, but I think my phone got stuck. So
that's
I'll look
okay.
into that later. But it is a very pretty heat tolerant flower. Good for
Yeah.
gardens and that kind of thing.
I always love zinnias.
And then this is the final one. So if you've got a shady area and you want a plant that you don't have to water that much, though will actually have a decent flower in a time of the year when there's not a lot of things blooming, hellebores and Lenten roses are a good option. Deer should not eat them because
Interesting.
they are really poisonous. So I would worry about the deer. But they have interesting kind of dark flowers and they take 100% shade.
Interesting. Do they require less water as well?
Yeah, I don't really water these very much at all.
Interesting.
So those are some of my favorite plants, ones that I don't think get enough attention and such, but do relatively well around here.
Nice, nice. Well, thank you for sharing. I think all those were really pretty and cool. And if you see any of those at nurseries while you're shopping, feel free to grab some of those. Um, oh, what else? Do you have anything else on your mind that you want to share?
Oh yes. Oh yes, I do. I have
Where should we go
notes.
next?
Here's where we're gonna go. So, as a horticulture extension agent, when I come out and do a site visit, when you're having a plant problem, one of the things I see is that typically, sometimes it's because you put the plant in the wrong spot.
Hmm,
So it's very important to match the plant to the spot, not put a plant there just because you want a plant there. So for example, for some plants, they need deep soils. So you're going to have to put something that you can't, you know what? Let me share my screen again. I've got pictures for this as well too.
perfect.
Let's see here.
Yeah, that's a good note. I think a lot of me, especially, I just look for shade versus sun, and I don't really look past what other needs they have. So it's a good point.
Okay. Um, wow, that's very enlightening. Okay. Site issues. Okay, so here are a few examples of putting a plant in a spot that's probably not going to end well. One right here, this is caliche. I'm sure y'all have caliche in Blanco County.
Yes, for sure.
Yes. This is trying to put a Monterey oak in almost pure caliche. There is like maybe 1 to 2 inches of topsoil. So first, that hole was very hard to dig. I did not dig that hole. I told the person digging that hole that this was a mistake, but they dug it anyways, and I just stood by and took pictures of it while they did it. We were having an argument. And said tree is You know what? It actually shrunk in size because,
Mm.
well, the neighbor's goats got in and they ate it down,
Oh
admittedly.
gosh.
But that picture is at least 10 or something years old, and that's not a tree there. It's not a real tree at all.
Sure.
So, with caliche, you've got to be very picky about the trees that you plant there. You really need to make a lot wider hole than if you were planting. If that person had made that hole like a lot wider, but still put all the caliche back in, that tree might have gotten a lot bigger. And the goats, I will admit the goats were an issue. Um, and you can't
Yes.
put really whatever you want in caliche. For example, you can't put a bur oak in caliche, it's gonna die.
Mm.
You need to put something that could take a shallower soil, like a Texas red oak,
Okay.
or the Monterey oak actually wasn't the worst choice ever. This middle picture right here, this tree is so when you get surface roots, exposed roots like that, that's what's causing the cracks in the pavement. The roots are
Yeah.
coming up through the pavement and such. This is usually because the soil is compacted or the tree just can't get water. So just put it in a better spot. This picture down here, this is actually a turfgrass picture. So a lot of people come to me and they show me pictures of their lawn and they say that the lawn is not growing very well. It's got a sickness or a disease and it's very thin and such. And a lot of the times it's because that there's just too much shade. So when it's a new house and you put trees in, the trees are small. And so as the trees get bigger, they produce more shade, which you would think that, well, it just doesn't really occur to people because of that, because it just kind of happens so slowly and such. And while the grass itself, it might have been doing great to begin with. In fact, a lot of new lawns do great to begin with. It just kind of gradually thins out because the shade increases to the point where it can't stand it. So this is actually a picture of market plats over here in
Okay.
Fredericksburg. We have these big old cedar elms, and it's really difficult for Bermuda grass to grow underneath them. Though I will say also that people like to sit underneath them too, so that might be a little bit of the issue
Mm.
as well.
A little bit too much traffic for it.
Yep. So,
Um,
um, I've got another slide.
I have a question about this one too.
Oh, which one?
The one on the left with that, did you say it was a bur oak? Do I remember that right?
So this is the bur oak. This is the Monterey oak.
Monterey oak, sorry about that.
It's
So
okay.
the Monterey oak, would there be anything that they could have done to like amend that area? Like, could they have, no?
No, so you don't take the soil out and put good soil in because you're basically planting in a pot at that point.
Ah,
The tree
okay.
has to get used to the soil eventually, so you might as well just dig it all out. The problem with caliche is that it's very compacted. So if you dig out all that caliche, you loosen it up, theoretically the tree should be better able to grow as long as it can take an alkaline soil.
Okay.
So I've got a slide on planting mistakes.
Perfect.
Ah, so speaking of
Thank
trees,
you.
when you plant trees, there are some things that you should watch for. And this also goes to when you're selecting plants in the nursery and such, particularly this one right here. So if you, sometimes you're going to go to a plant nursery and there's going to be plants on sale, or you're going to see trees for a very good price. Now, sometimes when plants are on sale, it's just a really good deal. They're trying to get rid of plants. That's okay. But sometimes when plants are on sale, there's a reason they're on sale. So you might want to take the plants out of the pot and check the roots. If you see a lot of circling roots, you're going to have to prune those roots to be able to plant that tree. It's still plantable, but you're going to actually have to cut them. And then you might have to cut some top growth to kind of balance it out again. I don't want slides of that. Now, when you plant these plants, you want to make sure that the potting soil is completely buried, not like this, because one, that looks ugly. And then two, it dries it out faster. And then you want to make sure that your irrigation system, well, look, somebody did put a cypress in the middle of a garden. Yeah. You want to make sure that your irrigation system is appropriately spaced away from the base, though I'm sure it
Mm.
was great when that tree first started. And then you want to make sure that you take the stakes off. I have a video of
Oh,
this.
cool. Thank you.
So this is where someone never removed the wires and they are still there. And this is eventually going to kill the tree. So Yeah, it's kind of sad. We should watch that
Yeah.
again and just shiver in horror.
Yeah, is there anything at this point that they could do? I mean, I guess you can't really dig in there and cut it out.
You should dig in there and cut the wire
Oh,
out.
okay.
Yeah, because it's not dead yet. The tree was still alive on top. So at that point, it's still got hope. So in these cases, you have to just kind of dig in there and cut out as much as you can. Needle nose pliers help.
That's
Flathead
fair.
screwdriver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about mulch? I was looking at that bottom right-hand picture and it reminded me of the volcanoing of mulch around trees. I knew you'd love that one.
Okay. So there's three ways to do this. There's the volcano where it's um like this, right?
On the
The
tree.
pin is the tree. Like it's all around the tree. That's not good. You should know better. What that does is that it rots the trunk of the tree. Now, there's the berm where it's like a foot away, and then there's this ring of mulch and such. That annoys me too. And people do that because they think, oh, this is good for the tree and that kind of thing. I'm putting mulch. Well, you need to flatten the mulch. Do not make berms of the mulch. It's okay to have a berm. Berm helps you water the trees, but make it 2 to 3 feet away, not right where the root ball is gonna, right where the roots are gonna be within a few, well, probably within that year. 2 to 3 feet, not 1 foot, and smooth out your mulch.
Does that affect the roots as well and not just the trunk of the tree?
Yeah, because if you have like a 5 or 6 inch mulch layer as part of that berm, that means that that water is going to have to infiltrate at that point. So there's going to
Oh,
be like a dry point potentially right there, unless it sinks in from the other sides. It's just, it annoys me.
yeah. I think it looks pretty because that's what we're used to
Mm-hmm.
seeing, especially
Mm-hmm.
in more like suburban areas. You know, medians driving down the road and then in the neighborhoods or like if you have a new build house, I feel like a lot of the time the builders kind of put it like that. And it looks pretty
Yeah.
to us because that's what we're used to. But yeah, well, thanks for showing us those pictures. I really enjoyed it. And I I think you covered quite a bit. Was there anything else that you wanted to share? But I think we've got about 10 minutes left on here.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so we mentioned soil depth. Other things that you should consider when you're choosing a location for your plants is going to be sunlight. You mentioned sunlight and deer. So
Oh
deer are
dear, yes.
voracious. You need to probably cage pretty much everything except for a few select plants. Rosemary, you don't have to cage.
And
Let's
why do you
see.
know why?
So the thought is that if a plant has a very strong scent or very aromatic, and then rosemary has tough leaves, then
Hmm,
deer are not going to like eating it. So that kind of
okay.
makes sense. Lavender is kind of the same way. Um, I don't know about your cilantro and your parsley though. I wouldn't give it to
Yeah.
deer.
I was
They
gonna
they
say,
eat weird stuff.
is there I feel like there's some plants on like the deer won't eat this list that they still eat. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
It depends on how hungry they
Depends.
are.
That's fair.
Mhm. When we get a drought, they get hungrier.
Makes sense.
Mhm. Let's see. When you choose plants, you should choose plants with multiple interests in mind. So, well, ideally, for example, when I'm choosing a tree, I wouldn't choose something that is just going to give me shade. I would choose something that's either going to bloom in the spring or have pretty fall foliage if I can.
I'm so sorry it cut out for a second.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
So that's about all I've got.
Okay. Well, thank you. Sorry, I was trying to think if there's anything else to ask. I think you pretty much covered everything. Oh, I like that you made the mention of if you're looking at discounted plant or trees at a nursery to look at the roots. That's I like that you mentioned that because I've never thought about actually looking at it before buying it. I mean, you would
Hmm.
test out a car before you bought it, like test drive a car before you bought it. So why wouldn't you check out the whole plant before you buy it? So I like that you mentioned that. What all would you look for to tell if they're healthy or not?
So I would just kind of look at the foliage. Wilting doesn't necessarily mean bad things. Well, it depends on the level of wilt. If it's slightly wilted, maybe it just needs water. If it's full wilt, it's probably dead. Don't buy that one unless it's on sale.
Sure.
Make sure it doesn't have any leaf spots. If you see ants or insects roaming around the
Mhm.
plant, that's a bad sign. You're not gonna really see that at reputable nurseries, but if you're buying plants off the side of the road, you might see it there. Or if you're buying plants off Etsy, don't buy plants off Etsy. Well, don't do it very often.
I always see a lot of succulents on there that I'm like, oh, those are cute, but I can really find them local, so I've never done it.
Hmm. Hmm.
Well, cool. Thank you for sharing your expertise with us today, and I hope somebody out there found it useful. I know I did for sure. So, but if that is it, I think that kind of wraps it up for me. If anybody that's listening has any additional questions, feel free to put them in the comments, and we can sort them out. Me or Beth can get back to you on that. So, but thanks for joining us again today, and happy to have you back. Um, but anyhow, have a great rest of y'all's day, and we will see you next week.